Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Happy New Year to you and your family. We're going to be celebrating the new year well into the new year. And as you know, the world is a-changing with this new year. Change. You know, it's a time that we're saying, okay, let's read more, volunteer more, exercise more, everything more. Except a few less. Maybe eat less and drink less. Correct? Is that what you're thinking about for this new year? Well, with this new year also comes a new former president who's taken the helm, of course, on January 20th. And with that, what does that mean for us here in New Mexico? What does that mean for business? Is it going to have a great effect on us or not? Well, we have the founder and the CEO for the New Mexico Business Colition here as my guest, and she's going to give her predictions on what this means, this change, a change for all of us in this new year. So please stay with us as we discuss this world is a-changing. What does it mean for us? We'll be back right after this. Well, you know, with this election, you perhaps heard that people were getting their news differently. You may get it still with us at KCHF TV. Of course, this is a family-run local business here in New Mexico. But people were not really getting their news so much from the big conglomerates during this past election, or perhaps in many recent years. What does that mean? What does that mean to all of us that they're not maybe trusting those big conglomerates that's been around for centuries? Well, it seems like times are changing for the way people are receiving their media. And of course, hope you stay with us here at KCHF TV because we are local and we are a locally owned business. And we try to be fair and bring you all the information that you need. And what's really nice about this show is we give you a whole half hour to talk to the newsmakers, not just a soundbite, not just a quick quote, but a whole half hour. So on the show today, we're going to talk with Carla Sontag. She is the CEO and the founder for the New Mexico Business Coalition, but she's also the publisher of New Mexico Sun. New Mexico Sun, what's that? Well, it's an online publication where you can get your news. So here's Carla. She's going to give us her predictions for the new year. Welcome to the program. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Yes. And of course, Happy New Year to you, Carla, and to your family.
Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure to be with you again, Diane.
Wow. I said at the beginning of the program, times are a-changing. I mean, wow. An election, not just here in the state, but nationally. What does that mean to us? And so many things have happened in the past few years for us.
Yes. I think that, you know, the American people really wanted to get back to putting America first, for stronger policies for America. And I think that was why they voted in Trump over the alternative. And I think we're going to see a lot of turmoil for those who are unhappy. They kept that at bay right after the election. You know, it got real quiet. We kind of thought there might be protests from those that were unhappy, and there wasn't. It was quiet. But I think we're going to see that when he comes in to office. I think we're going to have some protests in different forms. I think the current administration that's leaving now is going to be leaving a lot of wars for him to handle.
We're taping this program at the end of middle of December, and that's what I've heard as well, that perhaps around late January, the world might be on fire. I even heard there might be another COVID outbreak, and of course, wars in Syria. All these problems could just explode right then, and maybe intentionally?
I believe so. I think some of that is being aggravated. But at the same time, even while Trump is getting his administration together and looking at his leadership team, even before he takes office officially, he was working on that for a couple of months. And things that with the wars, the people conducting the wars have been contacting him because they know he's coming into a position of strength, and they may be better off putting their differences aside. Now, that's for those with a little more common sense. Some of the very progressive countries that don't follow protocol of the world aren't going to care.
What do you, as the publisher of New Mexico Sun and also as the CEO and the founder of the New Mexico Business Coalition here in New Mexico, these are kind of national and international and world things, but of course they all affect us. What are your predictions for business here in the state of New Mexico? I mean, we might see a lot of tumultuous times, but there is a change, and for some, there's hope.
I believe there's a lot of hope, but I think it's going to be a little rough in New Mexico. We have a governor that is terming out in a couple of years, and we've got a very progressive legislature, and I think they are going to be going for it, if you know what I mean, during the legislative session. And that is
kind of like California, I guess. They're going for it now before President Trump takes office.
Yes.
They're going for it, meaning they're trying to get all these changes implemented.
Right. And then...
And we're a mini, some say we're a mini California.
We are. I think our governor likes to do whatever California does. If she can't beat them to the draw, she will emulate what they do. And that is problematic for business. You see in California, businesses wholesale leaving the state, and we're seeing that in New Mexico as well. So we get a lot of reports from the state about businesses moving here. We don't get reports for those that are closing down and leaving. And
there isn't a report for that, Carla?
Not from the state that it is publishing. I think they are keeping records that they know of.
That's interesting.
But one thing to keep in mind, they may not know until the time that the company would be renewing a business license if it's not renewed. So they may not know if a company mid-year just says, I'm done, I'm leaving. They may not know for a while. But the state also does not publish that we have been able to find. And so it's difficult to track. But what we can track is the migration of people. And so while the state's reporting people are moving here for new business, national recording of where people are moving to, New Mexico is still showing a net out migration. So it doesn't matter what the state's bringing in, we're losing more than they are bringing in. So it's a problem.
But that's interesting that, again, we always do hear the reports of businesses locating here. Of course, some of them, they get a lot of government money to locate here, our taxes.
Yes.
When I say government, that means your money, my money. They're getting a lot of that to encourage them to come.
Yes.
And sometimes a lot of them aren't even opening their doors.
That is a big problem, and that is something the Business Coalition has worked on for decades, saying you've got to have a requirement, if you're going to give them our money, that they have to fulfill certain things in order to get that money. So the state has been listening a little bit. They have been putting in what they call clawbacks. If the company comes here and doesn't hire appropriately or stay for a length of time, they can claw back part of that money. Now, are they doing it in effect? Not always. The other problem is sometimes the company will abide by the rules until the deadline when the rules are expired, and then they're out of here. So we're not accomplishing much. We're not bringing in companies that are staying. Now, we brought in Facebook. Facebook is big. We understand Facebook is going to expand in Los Lunas. But
with a lot of machinery, I understand. A lot of a lot of computers, a lot of buildings, but I'm not sure many people.
They come in and there's construction jobs for a period of time. Then everything's put on the pads, and then it's left to a handful of people to manage. So we're not creating a lot of jobs. And really, it's not creating a lot of revenue. I think we're probably paying them more to come here than we are producing from their tax base, because that's one of the incentives often is to forgive taxes or large portions of those taxes. And that's how it's expensive to get companies here for very few jobs. But at the same time, in the New Mexico Business Coalition, we're hearing of companies that are leaving or shutting down. Just in the last week, I've heard of 3 more companies that are leaving the state. They're not that big, but they're companies. And that means those people are either out of jobs or they're relocating as well.
Probably going to Texas. Isn't that where everybody tends to go, to Texas?
There's a lot of people moving to Texas and Arizona. Arizona is booming.
So what's the difference, Carla Sontag, between Texas, Arizona, and us right in the middle?
It's business policy. It's business attitude. Do we welcome these people? Our homegrown businesses, the people that were here that started a business, to me, these are the people we should be promoting, supporting, and investing in. They're here because they want to be here. They're not here because we bribed them to come. And that is where we would have a better investment, in my opinion, investing in our own people. And we don't do enough of that. So,
what's an example, Carla, of that? Of maybe an existing business, a family-owned business that has been passed down from generations here in New Mexico. What kind of incentives could they receive from the state, from our tax dollars, that these other companies, out-state companies, would receive?
There are policies that allow for development of their employment staff and employment subsidies, where they're actually helping to pay part of the salary of some of these people. We give that away to others. And there are a handful of companies in New Mexico, not all homegrown, that are receiving that on a regular basis. So my question too is, why not spread the wealth? Why do you continue to do the J-tip, the money, the incentive to hire? Why do you continue to give it to the same company over and over and over? Why not give it to another small company that could become a medium-sized company? And again, they started here because they want to be here.
Do they shout that? These businesses, nobody likes to be treated unfairly. But government tends to do that. They pick their favorites, and that's unfair because it's our money, and they're choosing, well, we like this industry. It's a clean industry. We want them here. Oh, you've been here, but we don't like you as much. Mm-hmm. Are businesses shouting out about this?
No, because they fear retribution. They're afraid if they say something, then the state's going to come in and start harassing them by doing audits, unfriendly audits, not random audits. They're afraid that they will be overregulated. And so they just want to be quiet, run their business, and not complain. They don't feel free to speak up.
Can you understand that?
I do. It's a very sad thing, but I'll tell you that's part of the reason why I started the New Mexico Business Coalition. I'm a business owner still to this day, but I've kind of put my business aside in order to be the voice for these companies who don't feel free to do that. And honestly, I've had some interactions with the state that were not friendly at their initiation. But I'm still here, and I'm still speaking up for these companies because what they're doing is not right.
And you're the voice, and they don't have to feel the retribution because you're the voice for them.
I'll take the pressure so they don't have to, because it needs to be said, and we need to change the business environment in the state. But I'll tell you, Diane, it really comes down to elections. We need to elect people who are pro-business. And we have a hard time doing that in New Mexico.
We sometimes you hear it seems like nationally when you hear it, and I'm saying the conglomerate newscasts, business is like a dirty word, like, oh, big business is a dirty word, but they employ people, they pay, so they allow people to own their own home, to feed and care for their children. I mean, that's what business does, provide a job.
It does, and you know, our small business is what people don't realize. They think because they own a business that they're super rich and they just take advantage of everybody so they can stay rich. And it is so not that way. I have countless business owners that I know who will forego their own paycheck to make sure their employee is paid. They're doing everything that they can to provide a good paying job for good people and to keep them there. And sometimes it is a lot of sacrifice. And the bottom line is when they're making it big, big is relative. They're not making a lot of money, most of them.
A lot of red tape, a lot of regulations, a lot of hoops to jump through, and people don't seem to give them credit, but they're giving you the paycheck to do
Yes.
this. They're taking the risk. If
They are.
you're a small business person, you understand they're taking the risk to provide money for someone else.
Exactly.
So what are businesses saying to you since the election? Again, the federal election and the state election. What might some of these changes mean for them? Are they concerned about the tariffs that President Trump is considering implementing? And again, that is to have a better rein on these, especially China, maybe Mexico, maybe Canada, to keep the fentanyl from coming into our borders. That's his idea. Is he wants to put a tariff on goods produced in those countries, just to have some kind of clout, some kind of say-so over the open borders.
Right. Plus, he's trying to get more American manufacturing back to America. And so if you put tariffs on imports, then it makes more sense to manufacture here. And we're trying to get, I think he is trying to get more foreign countries out of America for our revenue and our well-being, because it's not good. If you have a lot of manufacturing in China, China gets upset with you and they cut you off. China is constantly making threats of withholding certain products that we have become very dependent on. So,
Such as what?
chips, computer
We need
chips.
chips. We need chips.
We need the chips and we need the raw materials that go into the chips, even if we're manufacturing them here. So if you empower China and you allow them to continue to hold that over us, what do we do when we can't get those raw materials anymore? We need to start looking for them here. We need to start producing more here and taking down the power that these foreign countries have over us.
With that in mind, you may or may not know this. Regarding Intel, a lot. Here it's expanding here in Rio Rancho. Huge, of course, it's huge in Arizona as well, and a lot of places in the country. If you happen to know, but their stock is going down. It's bad, and they're a chip maker, and they are producing here. I guess I understand they're not maybe as innovative as other countries. Do you know? I mean, I'm concerned because they are a big employer here in New Mexico.
They are.
And they're expanding, but their stock of their price is down.
Because of that fear. What's going to happen with what they call the Trump tariff wars if he puts a tariff on China and China withholds the raw materials that we need to manufacture the chips? And so that fear is driving the stock market down for our chip manufacturers. And there's a lot of push and pull right now, even before we've seen the effect of it. Trump's going to have to tread carefully as he goes through this, but we all need to understand, while it may be difficult, it's for our better protection in the long run.
And that's going to be tough because people just want prices down, and China makes cheap things. I mean,
Yes.
kind of cheaply made too, but inexpensive.
Yes.
I mean, when you turn and look, ooh, I looked at some things I had ordered. Wow, I didn't know they were made in China. It says China all over it.
Right, and that's an individual choice we could start making now and trying to buy more American. I am certainly more conscientious of that because I want America to do well and I want our American businesses to do well. And
You got to buy America.
Yeah.
But it's a little more expensive.
It is, but we've got to do our part. I don't want to support China. I mean, I hope they do well for their people, but I want us to do well for our people.
Regarding doing well, you have become the publisher of New Mexico Sun, an online newspaper publication. And again, as I mentioned, we hear in the media now how people are really, the younger people, they just are on their phone getting their news on their phone constantly.
Yes.
Their information.
Yes, and we're super excited about this. We've had the Sun for a while, but it's completely going through a remake right now. It's going to be a statewide policy news source. And so the whole focus of the New Mexico Sun is to cover policy throughout the state fairly and with both sides. And so you don't see a lot of news sources doing that a whole lot. They tend to be a little more one-sided. The Sun is very, very focused on being center of the road and providing truth, but allowing both sides to speak to the issue. That is our whole focus. So,
and that's with your reporters or with your editorials? How are you, with your opinion page, how are you allowing both sides? Because as a business person is a little bit more conservative with government's money, with the taxpayers' money. Mm-hmm. So how are you allowing, you as a publisher, allowing both sides?
Well, and that's an interesting thing. So on the opinion pieces, the op-eds, anyone can write an op-ed and we will publish it as long as it's not derogatory or hurtful to someone. If it sticks to an issue, people are free to express their opinion. Articles will come from multiple sources, press releases from government agencies and individuals, and that's how we're going to make the news. So we'll get a press release or an opinion piece, for example. There may be an article written about it. They're going to attempt to find somebody on both sides of that issue to speak to it. When we go into the legislative session and we're talking about these issues that are going to harm business, they're going to talk to the people who want to push them and try to find out why. Why do you want to do this when the other side is saying, this is harmful and I will shut down and move if you do this? Why do you want to do that? But in fairness, they're going to allow that dialogue to take place.
Well, we really want to know, though, why they're pushing it. So
we do want to know.
We really want to know that, Carla. You're not just being fair, but we want the answer. Why?
We do, and then the important thing is
progressive.
Yes, and then the reader can decide where their truth lies, where they see what is important. They can decide for themselves. We don't want to tell people how to think. We want to give you the information and let you decide.
Where can people find the New Mexico Sun?
It's online at newmexicosun.com.
That's easy, newmexicosun.com.
Yes.
Some of the topics that you've been discussing is, of course, well, the disastrous COVID lockdown. Will we see that again? As I mentioned at the beginning of the program, I just heard the media recently that there's going to be another COVID outbreak in late January. I don't know how they can predict it, but it was disastrous, of course, locking down our state. You had information on school closures, electric vehicle mandates. Ooh, that's a big one.
Yes.
Then the use of emergency powers. That's a big one. Safety at our border, regulations, energy, all the opinions on all these areas, and of course also on the implications for parental consent and youth gender care. So a lot of different topics.
Yes, any topic of concern that is a policy base, we're going to cover it. When you talk about COVID, that goes with the unchecked powers. I don't think New Mexico or people across the nation are going to deal with that again. I don't think people are going to be locked down. Not to the extent that we were in New Mexico for over 2 years. It won't happen.
And the school kids, they're still not up to grade here.
No, and they're...
What a shame.
They're struggling.
I was thinking, what a shame for the parents and the kids themselves.
When we're already 51st, because they take in Washington, D.C., in the ratings now, we're 51st in the nation, and to keep our kids uneducated for that long of a time, not going to happen again. And so, you know, many parents have gone to homeschooling. And so we're looking at policies for that. State doesn't like it because they give funding to schools based on the number of students there. More parents have pulled their kids out, not just for the lockdown, but for the policies that our children are facing.
You also discuss eliminating unnecessary mandates that restrict businesses. What is going on here in New Mexico? I mean, to start a business, you need a state license, a city license, a permit, on and on and on, asking for, you know, they say maybe we're not raising taxes, but charging for these licenses is a form of course taxation.
Oh, of course it is. And taxes are going up all the time. You know, if they don't just come up with a new tax, they come up with a new regulation that costs you money. It's the same thing. If government is taking your money, they're taxing you. It doesn't matter what they call it.
Fee, yeah, if they call it a fee. Oh, as well, it's actually a tax, a fee.
Yes.
So what are businesses saying about all these? Or what do they want you to say because they're fearful to say much?
They've had enough. They've had enough. And when it comes to regulation of paid family medical leave for 12 weeks, businesses are saying, do it and I'm done. I will close down and I will move to a state that doesn't do this to us. There has to be a limit to government getting in your business and telling you how to operate. And New Mexico doesn't seem to find that limit.
But the nation might, under this president, former President Trump taking office, and especially they're going to have that office, Department of Government Efficiency, where I think their first job is asking people, taxpayers are paying for you to work. Get back to the office and work.
Yes, but then did you hear what Biden just did? He signed an agreement as he's leaving office with the unions saying that they can continue to work at home. And so, you know, a union agreement, I don't know how a president or a Congress can come between that it's kind of a sacred agreement that they've
Are we
passed.
finding here in New Mexico a lot of employees are still working government, state government? It sounds whenever I call for help, I can hear the dishwasher going or the kids in the background or the dog barking. To me, it seems like a lot of people are still working from home.
They are, and not efficiently. So that is a problem. If we're going to pay them, we want them in an office working efficiently, taking care of our needs, but it's not happening. So that is a problem that needs to be addressed. It's not going to be addressed by the current governor and administration.
But private business, are those folks in the office working, or are they working from home?
Oh, they're in the office. They're working where they need to be working. And life for them goes on as it should.
Thank you, Carla. And we're hoping, again, Carla Sontag, the CEO and founder of New Mexico Business Coalition and the publisher of New Mexico Sun, thank you so much for being a part of this program. And our life goes on, but we hope it goes on in a good way.
Yes.
Thanks for watching. Happy New Year to you and your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at info@kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.